Oh, Mr. Ahmed, something does bother me. You've said that, for INEC to be able to, I'm taking you back to electronic voting, for us to be able to do electronic voting, I mean, much as we've been able to differentiate between the process itself, especially the process of verification and the actual voting, you say that the law has to be amended. There will also come the criticism of how every time it's election time, we always have to amend the laws. And then there will also be the fears of those who will believe that we're not yet mature, as it were, for outright electronic voting. Do you think that the introduction of chips in voters' card is a small step that might not exactly need the amendment of the law?
A lot of discussions in this country, whenever you bring up an idea, people say we are not ripe for it. In some cases it is true, in some cases it's just an outlandish statement. But the issue of electronic voting in particular, I happened to participate deeply in the grassroots mobilization during, prior to the 2011 elections, and I tried to get a lot of people to register. And when the registration agents came to town, I was able to, go to rural areas in my home state of Kano to make sure that I get a lot of people to participate in the process leading up to the 2011 elections. And I know how difficult it was, for rural people to just even place their 5 fingers on that gadget machine. I know how much of a Herculean task it was to get it right. And then half the time you get the machine rejecting the fingerprints like 15 or 20 times, and then people will have to be told to go and come back, and the machine is hot, and then you have to do it again, and then you come back after 2 hours or 3 hours. People do not have the patience, some never came back, and stuff like that. So we had those problems. Are we ready for the electronic voting? I'm not sure we are. We still have 60-70% of people live in rural areas. That's one. Two, I don't know about the topography of Ekiti State. The one, I think it should be the pilot, they want to use that as a pilot scheme in 2014 before the 2015 elections. I don't know the topography there, I don't know about the geography, but up in the north where I come from, the election usually takes place between February, March and April. Those are the dry season, and it's always a very hot season. And everybody that is attuned to computer technology knows that in the hot season, these things crack up and then they refuse to work after some time. So I don't know how they could get all those processes done. To answer your question simply, I don't think we're ready. Not in 2015, certainly.
Are we too far gone in discipline? Wanting to have our way at all costs, such that we don't seem to appreciate perhaps some of the improvements that INEC has recorded? Because I mean, if you look at some other countries, even in West Africa, they don't have as much challenge as we do, but our population is peculiar. So what then is INEC ready for if we can go about the electronic voting in 2015?
I didn't get the last question, I'm sorry.
What do you think INEC can do if we don't go ahead with electronic voting system for 2015? Do we use the same method we used the last time and wait until much later before we talk about electronic voting?
Well, what did a lot of people say in the 2011 elections? They said there was an improvement from the 2007 election, 2007 election, right? And in 2011, it was not electronic, was it? It was the same process that was used in 2007 and 2007. Now, they can still improve on what they have done in 2011 using the same process. But electronic voting, where you have an 80-year-old woman from city in Somalia local government of Kano State trying to place her finger to vote, and then who gets to collate it, who gets to do that? I don't know, in 2 years' time, I don't know if that's possible. I just don't want to be a cynic or perpetual critic, but it's difficult. I don't see it happening, and I think INEC could improve on what they have done, since a lot of people seem to agree that there was an improvement in 2011. That improvement could be improved upon using the same process in 2015, and then when the media, people like you, keep an eye on it, I'm sure things will be a lot obvious to a lot of people, so people will keep an eye on it.
All right, okay, trying to keep an eye on all of this. Well, the Federal Executive Council recently approved the establishment of Electoral Offences Commission. How will that improve the electoral process here in the country?
I didn't get that, I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the Federal Executive Council, which recently approved the establishment of Electoral Offences Commission. We're asking how can this particular commission help solve the problems we encounter after every election?
You know, we have this mad nagging obsession with all this, setting up this department, setting up this committee, setting up this and that to solve this problem and that problem and that problem. And at the end of the day, we just have a litany of bureaucracy and red tapes that we don't get anything done. You see, I would say that an electoral offense commission, okay, sounds like a good idea because there's a lot of, electoral offenses out there. But people seem to miss the point. The point largely in this country, whenever I hear people talking about the problems in this country, they keep talking about corruption, corruption, corruption. Forgetting that corruption in itself is a byproduct of something more sinister and more diabolic, and that is indiscipline. Indiscipline gives birth to all these things. Corruption and this culture of nepotism and lack of patriotism and whatever it is. People do not have discipline in their lives. So I don't care how many commissions you set up to do certain things. The leaders and the led are indisciplined. And once that is there, nothing could be achieved. Now, there is a commission that is set up by the Federal Executive Council. And they are going to take care of electoral offenses. This same commission will fall the same way every other commission, or even the courts of law that have been accused of corruption, judicial corruption, will be the same thing. People will not be punished, people will not be heard from, because you could go and buy in a judgment, a favorable judgment, whenever you want, or you could sidestep the landmine if you know who to talk to. So I don't know how it's going to help. I think we should pull ourselves away from this obsession with we have to set up this because before this is taken care of, and just try to see how we can develop an idea and get people loyal to that idea. And if that idea is, for example, a replication of a Nigerian dream, so that people will see certain things beyond themselves and try to be disciplined towards that, I think it's a lot better than just setting up all these commissions or whatever that will just end up being a huge red tape to something that could be achieved easily in a court of law.